All right.
16.
Lesson 16. Yes.
So, in one of the questions, there was a derived character. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a
Derived character and what?
So, the singers when one of the questions was derived character. And I don't think
We just touched on them barely, so. Or we're going to. All right, so thank you all for bearing with my little scratchy voice. This is fast. This is going to be very fast. And then we're going to divide into Jeopardy teams and we're going to play Jeopardy. Okay? So we're gonna go. All right, yes, sir.
Are you gonna review our culture?
Yeah, that's what
Jeopardy is.
That's what Jeopardy's gonna be. Yep. All right, classification, taxonomy, fossil record, history of life. So we're going to go very quickly. This is short so that we can get to more review for midterms. I'm all about giving you as much review as I can squeeze in. So this dude is Carl Linnaeus. Swedish, super cool. Found a way to help us categorize things, which is important. Categorizing is important because otherwise, how do you know what's related to what? Binomial nomenclature. What does that mean, do you think? If you broke those words down, what does it mean?
So binomial, like something like that means bi means two.
Huh? Uh-huh.
And
Bi means two. Yep.
nomial probably means like name.
Uh-huh. To name.
And nomenclature, something related.
Yeah.
Something like pattern.
Yeah, you pretty much got it, Lucas.
And classification.
Yeah, so basically that's exactly what it is. To name naming system or classification. To name naming system. So in binomial nomenclature, each species is assigned a two-part scientific name. Okay, why is this important? Why are scientific names important? Why does it matter?
To relate animals to each other.
Yeah, to relate them to each other, organisms.
And differentiate species.
Different what?
Species.
Different species. Okay. Yeah, these are important. What else, Jordan? Anything else?
Give names to stuff so we know what they are.
So we know what they are. All right, let me ask you this. Are the scientific names for organisms the same in all languages?
Yes.
Absolutely. If you're speaking Russian or German or Spanish or English, the scientific name of an organism doesn't change. Now, when I grew up in Virginia, we used to have this weed that would grow in the backyard of my house when I was a little girl in my first house. And I thought it was really cool because the stalks were like hot pink almost, little green leaves and like hot pink stalks, and it had these almost black berries on it, little round. They looked delicious, but my mom said, don't eat those, they're poisonous. So I never ate them, but I thought they were really pretty. But I did learn, because we had a swimming pool that my parents had dug, and we had used sand around the edges, kind of level it or whatever. I did learn that if I took the little beads and little berries, whatever, and I crushed them in the sand, it would dye the sand like a purpley pink color. Now that little weed in Virginia is called inkberry. Does anybody know what it's called here? It's not called inkberry, do you know?
Hollyberries?
Not hollyberries. People call them pokeberries. Seen pokeberries? Yeah, you know, Isabella, you're my outdoorsy girl. She's like, I know what that is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, pokeberries. So pokeberries are inkberries to me. But if I'm talking about that to somebody else, how do they know what the heck I'm talking about? If I say inkberries, they don't know, right? That's why a scientific name is important, because there are cultural names, there are regional names, there are names in different languages, right? Like cow in French and cow in Spanish and cow in English are all different words, but the actual scientific name for a particular cow is going to be the same in all. So the goal of systematics is to organize living things into groups that have biological meaning. So biological meaning, how are they related? Over time, Linnaeus's original classification system expanded to include 7 hierarchical taxa. Taxa is plural for a classification. The singular would be taxon, right? So this is opposite of the way we just did it. So this is our dear King Philip came over for good soup. Remember? It's just shown in the reverse order here. Species being the most narrow of our classifications with only one organism in it, and domain being the widest or the broadest with many organisms. Huh?
Dumb King Philip.
Dumb King Philip? I always say dear, but I mean, it could be dumb. I don't know. All right, so our rose here. Common name, moss rose. Probably not called a moss rose everywhere in the world, but scientific name, Rosa Gallica. I'm called Rosa Gallica. Rosa Gallica. Sorry, I can't speak today. Rosa Gallica. So we've got our scientific name. That's its species. Its genus is Rosa. And you see that the genus and species go together for your scientific name. So its species is Gallica, right? But its scientific name is Rosa Gallica. You're never just going to call it one thing, right? And then there's its family, its order, its class, its phylum, and its kingdom. And you could add its domain to the top there as well, right? So you can see that it gets broader and broader and broader as it goes up. Now, this is fun. This is worth the video.
The scientific name for pig.
There's probably hundreds of different pigs, so species of pigs.
Everyone said
This one has a couple of ads in between that I have to skip through, but it's still
everyone
fun.
except WGU.
Yeah.
Until the mid-1700s, the names we used to identify living things were a bit of a mess. At the time, a lot of scientific names were trying to both identify and describe species, and some of them were like 12 words long. In 1753, a Swedish botanist named Carl Linnaeus tried to fix this problem by developing the simpler two-word system that we still use today. Every species has both a generic name, what we'd call a genus name, followed by its trivial or species name. He argued that it didn't really matter what the name was, as long as every species got a unique label and everybody agreed to use it. And that's why today, the rules for naming a new species aren't very strict. If you find it, you get to name it. Pretty much anything goes, as long as you use the Latin alphabet and the name isn't too offensive. So if you ever happen to discover a new species, and you want to name it after your favorite sandwich, or Game of Thrones character, or your childhood pet, you probably can. But if you're really struggling to come up with your dream species name, here are a few ideas. One way to name a species is by going with a clever translation and maybe a bit of poetic flair, like the salt-loving bacteria whose Latin name means traveler of the void. It earned that name by surviving in outer space for 2 years. In 2009, researchers sent samples of the bacteria to the International Space Station, or more specifically to the outside of the space station. All of the samples were exposed to the vacuum of space. Some of them were totally shielded from the sun's rays, some of them were only partially shielded, and some were completely exposed. The bacteria that got the full blast of the sun's radiation all died, but some of the ones that were partially shielded made it. And almost all of the bacteria that were totally protected survived. Next, we have Ossidax muciflorus, aka the bone-eating snot flower, which is exactly what it sounds like. The muciflorus is a pink marine worm that somehow resembles both a frilled flower and something you'd find in a used tissue. These guys live in whale carcasses on the Atlantic Ocean floor, where the females anchor themselves within the bones of the whale's large skeletons. There they secrete a special acid that dissolves the bone so they can suck it in through their skin, since they lack both mouths and guts. And they really do make themselves at home in these bones. So they send their flower-like gill plumes out the side of the bone to collect oxygen. They also send out a long tube-like oviduct. Researchers think they use the oviduct to shoot out fertilized eggs that can then disperse through the water. If you're not into descriptive translations, you could try a solid pun, or just wordplay in general. Like how, when researchers identified a new genus of small brown and yellow fungus beetles, they dubbed it jelly, after the Latin gelatis, meaning congealed or jelly. This made a kind of sense since the tiny round beetles eat, and therefore spend most of their time living on, slime mold. The researchers then went on to name 5 of its species jelly bean, jelly belly, jelly donut, jelly roll, and jellyfish. Probably just because they could. On the other hand, you've got a new species waiting for a name, you could always just name it after a celebrity. That's what German entomologist and spider expert Peter Jaeger did in 2008 when he identified a new type of Malaysian spider and named it Heteropida David Bowie. Not unlike a Latin name, the spider is big, bright-haired, and David Bowies can be 15 to 25 millimeters long, and their whole bodies are covered in yellow, orange, and red hair. They're also one of over 200 species named by Jaeger, and not the first inspired by a celebrity. Many of the species Jaeger works with are rare, endangered, and easily overlooked. He estimates there may only be around 500 David Bowies left on their island habitat.
Poor thing.
By giving them a flashy celebrity name, they might pull some headlines of their own and draw public attention to conservation efforts. Plus, there's the whole Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars thing, too. While some researchers may name a species after a celebrity to celebrate that person's achievements, others may just notice a particular resemblance between their species and a famous person. In 2011, when curator Brian Lesser began describing a previously unknown species of Australian horsefly from an old museum collection, he was immediately mesmerized by the fly's spectacular lower abdomen, bedazzled with dense golden hairs. What a glamorous bum, he thought. One might even call it bootylicious. So he named it Scaptia beyonceae, after Queen Bey herself. Golden booty or not, most people don't appreciate the 4,000 plus species of horseflies in this world. Probably because their bites really hurt and it's really annoying when one keeps buzzing past your eyeball. But horseflies are actually quite useful citizens of Earth. Adult horseflies are important pollinators. They feed on nectar and move pollen around. Only the females bite, but most of them are anatogenous, which means they can't properly reproduce without first eating a hearty blood snack. And you can't really blame a girl for taking care of herself. I'm pretty sure Beyonce even has some songs about that. Then there's the story of paleontologist David Legg, who saw the claw-like front appendages of a 505 million-year-old lobster-like fossil and immediately thought of Edward Scissorhands. The new genus Kootenai honored both the place where the fossil was found, Kootenai National Park in British Columbia, and referenced the animal's most distinctive feature with chella, the Latin word for claw. And the species name Depi honored Johnny Depp, the film's sharp-fingered star. At about 4 centimeters long, Kootenai depi was relatively small and probably used its big claws to capture or scavenge for prey along shallow sea bottoms. It's essentially the precursor to the arthropods we have today, like crabs and scorpions, as well as spiders, centipedes, and insects. Now, if celebrities aren't your thing, you could always name a newly found species after your favorite fictional character. Since sciencey people often enjoy science fiction, it probably shouldn't come as a surprise that the Harry Potter, Tolkien, and Star Wars fandoms are already well represented. For example, meet the J.K. Rowling-inspired Ambulex Dementor, found with Pepperwood wasps. These wasps have the charming habit of zombifying their prey, the way hooded guards of Azkaban suck the souls right out of their victims. Native to Thailand, Dementor wasps stab roaches in the belly, injecting them with a mind-controlling venom that leaves them technically able to move, but unable to control their own bodies. That makes it easy for the wasp to haul them away and chow down, being a fate that only the worst Death Eater deserves. In 2007, paleontologists digging in Morocco unearthed a fossilized skull fragment, discovering a new, large, carnivorous dinosaur. The fragment was mostly of the upper skull, but it included an eye socket. They named it Sauroniax because, in the words of study leader Andrea Cow, the idea of a predator that is physically known only as its fierce eye reminded me of Sauron. Aren't nerds the best? The fossil suggests that it was a toothy, two-legged terror, probably as big as a T-Rex, and just as scary as Sauron himself, although without more fossils, it's hard to say for sure. Broad and thick with a distinct lump on its forehead, a Sauroniax skull looks a bit different than other two-legged dinosaurs from that area. Researchers think males may have used their head lumps to compete for ladies with some good old-fashioned headbutting. Now, Sauron's not the only hobbit enemy getting props. There's also the aptly named genus Smog, which contains a group of 8 medium-sized African-girdled lizards. As members of the Chordillidae family, they're noted for their well-armored bodies, roughly scaled tails, and large spines. They are basically mini dragons. Smog species are insectivores, give birth to live young, and are bigger than most members of the taxonomic family. They live in deep and narrow rock crevices, or in one case, tight underground burrows, which makes the name even more appropriate, since Tolkien probably named his dragon Smog after the German word for squeezing through a hole. So many layers of meaning here. And finally, no list of fun names would be complete without a Star Wars reference, and my favorite has got to be Han Solo. Not the character, maybe the character, but the actual species. It's a type of trilobite, very old, fossilized group of extinct marine arthropods. And its official scientific name is just straight up Han Solo. Turvey does admit that his friends dared him to name something after a Star Wars character, but the name is actually very clever. For one thing, the fossil was discovered in the Hunan province of China, and the Han people are a large Chinese ethnic group. The animal also happens to be the only known member of its family, hence the Solo. Trilobites were also diverse, widely distributed, and if you can find one, they're often nearly as well preserved as Harrison Ford and Carbonite. These are just a few examples of species with clever, amusing names. So if you ever have the opportunity to name a species of your own, don't be afraid to get creative. Thanks for watching.
Great fun, right?
Show brought to you by our patrons on.
Yes.
There's one bear, like one, but its scientific name is just translates to bear.
Bear. Yeah, there's a bug that's like spiky, spike. And then it's like there's one that's like less spiky, spike, less spike. Yeah, something like that. And yeah,
The one picture of the little dog at the end, like the movie about the French Run.
The first dinosaur discovered in America, new dinosaur species, was named Greek for a big lizard.
Big lizard. Yeah. 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 No, I like the spiniest, non-spiny, spiniest, more spiny. It's like there's a whole bunch of them, and all the species are like more spiny or less spiny than the others. And it's funny. All right, so useful scientific name must have two characteristics. Yeah?
Genesis.
Yeah, it's got to have your genus and species. Each name must refer to only one species, and everyone must use the same name. If not, it's not very useful to you. That's the whole point of scientific names. Okay, so if our kingdom here is Animalia, then what is chordata? Kingdom Animalia. What chordata? Jordan. Phylum. And Mammalia is going to be your no class. Yep. Carnivora is going to be your yep. Order. Kingdom, phylum, class, order. What's next?
Class order family.
Family. Your Ursidae. And then Urus is going to be our what? Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family.
Species.
Not species. What comes before species? Genus. There you go. Genus. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Right? Do it in your sleep. Literally. Get to the point where you're like, yes, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Dear King Philip came over for good soup. How does Linnaeus' system of classification help establish the unity of life? What you got, Eunice?
So the organisms into a single,
Like a single system? Okay, yeah. So it classifies organisms based on overall similarities and differences. Organisms in the same genus share many similarities. Organisms in the same kingdom have many differences, but they still have common traits. All right, modern evolutionary classification. So Linnaeus and all the guys from him forward until we brought in DNA were using traits and characteristics and location geography, biogeography to classify organisms. Then we start bringing in genetic information. Now we can tell in some cases there were things we didn't know. Organisms are related more closely than we thought or less closely than we thought, right? So this right here is actually a visual representation of some bacteria, how these are different species of bacteria and how closely they may be related. So we have phylogenetic systems. The goal of phylogenetic systematics or evolutionary classification is to group species into larger categories that reflect lines of evolutionary descent rather than overall similarities and differences. So we want it to be evolutionarily related, not just these organisms have wings, these organisms have petals, right? So Caitlin, what am I looking for here? Yeah, a cladogram is going to link organisms, groups of organisms, by showing how evolutionary lines or lineages branched from common ancestors. And these groups here are called clades. So therefore a cladogram. In general, the more derived genetic characters, there's our derived character, right? The more derived genetic characters two species share, the more what? They share a common ancestor. What do we think? Barrett? More closely. Yeah. They share a common ancestor, and the more closely they are related in evolutionary terms. So what is a trait that arose from the most recent? Yes. There it is. You asked me about it earlier. You're like, we haven't gone over that yet. Nope. There it is today. Derived character is a trait that arose from the most recent common ancestor of a particular lineage and was passed along to its descendants. Most recent. I'm waving at you, telling you what? To remember that it's most recent common ancestor. Why might I be making sure that you stop and pause here and pay attention? Yeah. He's gonna be in the midterm. All right, so so a node is each place where a branch splits. A clade is a group of species that share a common ancestor, and then your derived character would be right here. This would be your most recent common ancestor before the branches begin. A monophyletic group is a group of organisms that includes an ancestral species and its entire descendant species, which we also call what? We call that a clade, right? What's a group? What group is a group of organisms that consist of ancestral species? What do you think?
Oh, so
Yeah, paraphyletic and polyphyletic, okay? Your paraphyletic group is a group that consists of organisms, ancestral species, and some of its descendant species. And your polyphyletic taxon is a group of organisms that lack a common ancestor. Not so much to worry about, but 'tis a thing, right? Alrighty, here's a better explanation of cladograms. Maybe, yes.
My energy
Oh,
bill dropped from $100.
Drop your energy bills. It's important when you're paying bills.
My friends laughed.
Yeah.
I spent $49.
Not why your friends were asking you. Well,
There are many other reasons, I'm sure.
Hi, it's Mr. Anderson, and in this podcast, I'm going to talk about the cladogram. Cladogram is essentially taking characteristics that are shared by organisms and then putting together a hypothesis of how you think they may be related, or a phylogenetic tree. It's not a phylogenetic tree, it's just a guess at how that might occur. And so luckily, I was just working in some pond water yesterday, and I discovered these 7 creatures, and I've named them after myself, of course. They're called Andersenia aquaticus, and they're all subspecies of that. But basically, they have a lot of different characteristics. And so if we were to put those together in a cladogram, well, when you were growing up, you probably watched Sesame Street, and they used to play a game called One of These Things is Not Like the Other. And so that's a good way to think about a cladogram. And so basically, which of these doesn't look like the others, which of these is an outgroup? Well, you should be able to figure this out. First one would be C, and then try to guess before I actually click on it. The next one that would branch off according to this would be B, because it doesn't have a I, but we're going to have that in G. So next would be G. If I play along with me, what's going to be the next one?
D.
That's right, it's going to be D. And then after that,
A.
And then after that, F. And then finally after that, we have E. So you could probably do that. Just put them in order, looking at what characteristics they have. So the outgroup is going to be the one that doesn't have any of these characteristics, or maybe one. And so basically a cladogram is going to look like this. It's going to be a hypothesis of how these things came to be. And so I could look down here and I could say, well, right here, there's one characteristic, and that would be that there is a cell membrane. In other words, all of them have a cell membrane. And so to show you how this is read, basically everything that branches out from this point is going to be a cell membrane. What is this branching point? Well, you can think of that as a common ancestor between all of the organisms that are on here. Or if I were to go right here, this would be a circle. Or if I were to move up a little bit, what's going to be the next thing that comes? The next thing is going to be the eye. And so I could keep going all the way up. These are characteristics that are added, and we use those to make a cladogram. Now, there's some interesting things you should know. So if we look at this cladogram and say that it's true, who's more related? Is F more related to E, or is it more related to A? That's a really good question. And so basically, how do we know which it's related to? And I would say the right answer is E. You have to understand that a cladogram, or a phylogenetic tree for that matter, time is going to go in this direction. So we're going to put time on the side. In other words, this is going to be the most ancient common ancestor, and then we're going to work progressively up. And so that means that F and E would share a common ancestor right here, but F and A are going to share a common ancestor all the way back down here. And since this is way farther back in time, we would say that F is more related to E. But this is a pretty simplistic one, and again, it's just a guess as to how it might occur. A tougher question might be, well, let's add a new one. Let's say I discover something like this. This is species H, or subspecies H. Where would you put this on this cladogram? And when I talk to students in class, there's 3 areas or 4 areas where they might want to add that. So some people think we should add it kind of like branching off here. Some think we should do it right here, branching off D. Some think it should be something like this, and some think it should be this. And so these are all plausible. In other words, these are all guesses. And we can put way more in there than this. But what's the quote unquote right answer? Well, if I had to put this somewhere, what I would do is I would put it right In other words, I would have H branching off here. And the reason why is that if I were to put it way back here before the I evolved because we didn't have that I, well, it could have occurred like that, but it would be odd that it would also involve the same exact teeth and the same defensive spikes that we find farther up. And so a more plausible guess would be that it branched off of this A and then it lost its eye. Now, how could it lose its eye? Well, if we were to put one of these in an area where there's no light, then the eye wouldn't be an advantage. And so lots of times when we're adding a cladogram, we just add characteristics that are added, but know this, that it's just as likely to lose something that we've gained as to gain something new. And so this would be kind of a pretty good guess as to where H goes. And what I'm talking about now is Occam's razor. In other words, I'm talking about the theory of parsimony. What in the heck does that even mean? Well, it basically means this. If all things are equal, the simplest explanation for how that occurred is probably the most real. In other words, if I come out in the morning and there's a glass of milk that's spilled in the kitchen, I could come up with a bunch of different hypotheses. It could be aliens, it could be Bigfoot, it could be a massive earthquake, or it could be a cat. And if I were to look at all of these, well, it's most likely going to be my cat. Doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that aliens didn't come down and spill my milk. It just means that it's more than likely the cat that did it. And so when you're building a cladogram, you kind of try to do that. And you try to use this idea of parsing, the idea that the simplest explanation is the best. So let me show you an example of one of these. This would be a cladogram that's created for primates. And if we look at this one again to go back, in general, in biology, we used to use all these characteristics to put organisms in a cladogram, physical characteristics, but you can imagine that's not a great way to classify life or to even show its evolutionary relationships. Today, we now have DNA, we have genetics. And so you can create a cladogram like this by just sequencing the DNA in all these different organisms and then throwing them into a computer, and it can create a plausible kind of cladogram. And so where are you? You're right here on the human side. And so if we were to go across from the left, so if we look at these two, the lemur and the loris, they share a common ancestor right here, but they also show a distant common ancestor with all of the primates on here, all the way back here. If we were to work across to the tarsier or the New World and Old World monkeys is kind of a weird term. New World is a South American monkey. So an example could be the squirrel monkey. An Old World monkey would be like a baboon. So all of these things have tails, and now we move out to the apes. The first one would be the gibbon. That would be this first branch point. Then we have the orangutan, the gorilla, the chimp, and we could put bonobo branching off here, and then we finally have the humans. And so again, this is just a cladogram, it's a hypothesis of how these things are related. And you're looking at characteristics that are shared by all of these, but the big characteristics we're looking at now are homologous structures of DNA. In other words, where the genetics match up, that means they had a common ancestor. Does it mean that we turned from gorillas to humans? No, it just means that we had an ancestor way back at this point. And so those are cladograms, and I hope that's helpful.
Who's that lady right there that they showed? And who's Jane Goodall? And she was the primate queen, right? Yeah, like she's probably the best known primate researcher. All right, how did Darwin's theory of evolution change the way biologists thought about classification categories? So we now group organisms by lines of evolutionary descent, not just similarities. According to the figure, which species is most closely related to red pandas, Eunice? There we go. Raccoons. They're called pandas, though. Why are they called pandas? This is why scientific names matter, right? Okay, although giant pandas and raccoons share some distant anatomical similarities, they are in different clades. What type of evidence do you think was used to construct this diagram? What do we think, Jordan? Whiskers? Some DNA in there for sure. So we tossed in some DNA. All right, biologists have previously classified giant pandas together with raccoons and red pandas. What did DNA analysis reveal about giant pandas and bears?
They both at some point were carnivores.
Okay, they were related back here, Drew.
I said that they do share a common ancestor, but not as close as they previously imagined.
Yeah, they have a common ancestor, but they're not as closely related as we originally thought. So giant pandas and bears share a more recent ancestor than giant pandas and raccoons, right? Their ancestors down here, giant pandas and raccoons. All right, so how do we build our tree of life? Now, we went over this classification system at the beginning of the year. Eubacteria, Archaebacteria, Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. There are multiple systems that have been in place throughout time. Some are more used than others. Typically these days, we are using the 6 kingdom system, right? This one right here that we went over. Your parents used that 5. My biology degree came under that 5 system. So I wasn't even aware that they changed it. So I opened this book for the first time 4 years ago and went, what? There's 6? When they do that? I missed it. There was no press release about this. So yeah, I learned under Monera, Protista, Plantae, fungi, Animalia. Your parents probably did too. Now we have Eubacteria, Archaebacteria. So we've taken Monera and we further subdivided it. So just know that there are other systems that have been used or might be used in specific situations. So also, each kingdom is going to have its, these are your 6, this is what we're using now, going to have its particularities. You can tell whether they are prokaryotic because everything in that kingdom will fall into this prokaryotic category, whether they are unicellular, multicellular, whether they are autotrophic, heterotrophic, or both. Some have both, organisms that have both. And when we get to our, we're doing a protist lab where you're going to be looking at samples of live protists in a microscope. Some are going to be autotrophic, some are going to be heterotrophic, and you can tell by looking at them which is which. And then where they live, right? All right, who doesn't like David Attenborough? Gotta love David Attenborough, right? Oh, you'll recognize his voice instantly because now he's just a meme these days, but he's great. He's awesome. If you've heard any nature video that's been made with like Sora or whatever, it's got David Attenborough's AI voice. That guy.
After the publication of Darwin's revolutionary book, modern genetics has confirmed its fundamental truth. All life is related. And it enables us to construct with confidence the complex tree that represents the history of life. It began in the sea, some 3,000 million years ago. Complex chemical molecules began to clump together to form microscopic blobs, cells. These were the seeds from which the tree of life developed. They were able to split, replicating themselves as bacteria. And as time passed, they diversified into different groups. Some remained attached to one another so that they formed chains. We know them today as algae. Others formed hollow balls which collapsed upon themselves, creating a body with an internal cavity. They were the first multi-celled organisms. Sponges are their direct descendants. As more variations appeared, the tree of life grew and became more diverse. Some organisms became more mobile and developed a mouth that opened into a gut. Others had bodies stiffened by an internal rod. They, understandably, developed sense organs around their front end. A related group had bodies that were divided into segments with little projections on either side that helped them to move around on the sea floor. Some of these segmented creatures developed hard protective skins which gave their bodies some rigidity. So now the seas were filled with a great variety of animals. And then around 450 million years ago, some of these armored creatures crawled up out of the water and ventured onto land. And here, the tree of life branched into a multitude of different species that exploited this new environment in all kinds of ways. One group of them developed elongated flaps on their backs, which over many generations eventually developed into wings. The insects had arrived. Life moved into the air and diversified into myriad forms. Meanwhile, back in the seas, those creatures with the stiffening rod in their bodies had strengthened it by encasing it in bone. A skull developed with a hinged jaw that could grab and hold on to prey. They grew bigger and developed fins equipped with muscles that enabled them to swim with speed and power. So fish now dominated the waters of the world. One group of them developed the ability to gulp air from the water surface. Their fleshy fins became weight-supporting legs, and 375 million years ago, a few of these backbone creatures followed the insects onto the land. They were amphibians with wet skins, and they had to return to water to lay their eggs. But some of their descendants evolved dry, scaly skins and broke their link with water by laying eggs with watertight shells. These creatures, the reptiles, were the ancestors of today's tortoises, snakes, lizards, and crocodiles. And of course, they included the group that then came to dominate the land, the dinosaurs. But 65 million years ago, a great disaster overtook the Earth. Whatever its cause, the great proportion of animals were exterminated. All the dinosaurs disappeared except for one branch, whose scales had become modified into feathers. They were the birds. While they spread through the skies, a small, seemingly insignificant group of survivors began to increase in numbers on the ground beneath. These creatures differed from their competitors in that their bodies were warm and insulated with coats of fur. They were the first mammals. With much of the land left vacant after the Great Catastrophe, they now had their chance. Their warm, insulated bodies enabled them to be active at all times, at night, as well as during the day, and in all places, from the Arctic to the tropics, in water, as well as on land, on grassy plains, and up in the trees. Today, we and the rest of the mammals share the world with the descendants of those other great animal groups that have evolved on this planet, birds and reptiles, with insects and with fish, and even with those simplest of all living organisms that first appeared over 3,000 million years ago with bacteria.
It's really very cool, right?
Movies that play big movies at those at the science museums.
Okay, yeah, it is kind of like that. Very similar. Yep. All right, so what is our domain for you, bacteria? What's the domain? Kenna? There you go. Very good. Bacteria. That was a hard one, guys. All right, and then how about archaea? What is the kingdom for archaea? Jordan? Go. Archaebacteria. What's an example of a protista? So, oh, sorry, eukarya. I forgot that. Eukarya goes over here. Example of a protista. Did you have one, Kenna? Okay, yeah. So ciliates, brown algae, things of that sort you might find in there. How about what are mushrooms and yeast fall under? Yeah. And plantae, what's an example for plantae? Trees is a good example. Anything like that is probably going to be an acceptable answer, right? And then what are sponges, worms, insects, fishes, mammals? Animalia, very good. All right. Now let's talk about the fossil record really quickly. So from the fossil record, paleontologists learned about the structure of ancient organisms and their environment and the ways in which they lived. Relative dating allows paleontologists to determine whether a fossil is older or younger than other fossils. How is relative dating done? Some of you have done earth science with me, so you should know this one. How is relative dating done?
Where fossils found.
Rock layers. Yep.
Related to other fossils.
Related to other fossils. Anything to add to that? Anybody? That's basically it. It's how is it related to, if you relate it to another fossil, there's your relative, right? Relating. Is it in older rock or newer rock? Where is it geographically located? That is relative dating, right? So it tells you the relationship between one fossil and another, whether it's older or younger. But radiometric dating uses a proportion of radioactive and stable isotopes to calculate the age of a sample. Somebody who's done chemistry, how does this work? Half-life. Yeah?
Also, it's older, the unstable isotope will change.
Yeah, it decays. Mhm.
Know the rate at which it decays.
Yes.
That's helpful.
Perfect. Yes, we know the rate at which a radioactive isotope will decay. So we can take that rate and compare the decayed isotope to other versions of the same element, and we can tell exactly how old something is. So it's not relative, right? It's not relative. It is exact dating. So geologic time scale is based on both relative and absolute dating. So radiometric is absolute, right? The major divisions of a time scale are going to be eons, eras, periods. What's the biggest one?
Yeah.
Eons is biggest, right? Then eras, then periods. All right, now building mountains, opening coastlines, changing climates, and geological forces have altered habitats of living organisms repeatedly throughout Earth's history. In return, the actions of living organisms over time have changed conditions in land, water, atmosphere on planet Earth. So this is fun. If you were to take the 4.5 billion year timeline of Earth's existence and compact it into a 24-hour period, at what time of day do you think life would emerge? What do you think?
At the very end.
Towards the like what time? Give me a time. 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. 11:30 p.m.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
23rd hour, 23rd.5.
Okay. So for life in general,
4 a.m.
4 a.m. Have you seen this? Because
That's what I was doing.
because 4 a.m. is actually spot on. So that's why I asked. That's very specific. Yeah. So we're gonna see life emerge at about 4 a.m. So this video is gonna start at about 4 a.m. So if life's emerging at 4 a.m., what time do you think humans are gonna show up?
Like around 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
It's like 11:59.
11:59 p.m. Yeah.
4 p.m.
4 p.m.
I'm gonna say 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
But I was going, like 11:50 something, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, let's watch. This is a short one, but it's pretty amazing. Oh, now it's making me hungry. Some of these are just mean. That's mean.
Uncompromising energy.
Oh,
Uncompromising quality.
papers.
Without compromise.
Okay.
With an estimated 3.8 billion years of existence and evolution on Earth, it's an odd thing indeed. So how did we get here? And what would the Earth's 4.5 billion year timeline look like compressed into a normal day of 24 hours? The story begins early in the morning, around 4 a.m., with the rise of the first simple single-celled organisms. However, these organisms are destined to spend quite some time alone. At 1 p.m., a simple cell engulfs another, creating a symbiotic relationship and the first eukaryotic cells or cells with internal organs. At 6:30 p.m., these cells begin to form colonies, and thus the first multicellular life develops. But it isn't until 8:30 p.m. that seed plants appear, and 20 minutes later, we suddenly see animal life erupt in an explosion of inventiveness. Jellyfish, the first true vertebrates, trilobites. Incredible diversification begins to take place. And just before 10 p.m., plants begin to appear on land, followed by land mammals. By 1024, the Earth is covered in carboniferous forest, and the first winged insects appear. Many reptiles dominate the land with less than an hour left, but a mass extinction event allows dinosaurs to storm the sea and remain until 11:41 p.m., when they suddenly vanish. And so begins the age of mammals. In the last few minutes, apes split from the old world monkeys, and with only 1 minute and 17 seconds left before midnight, humans emerge. All of the recorded human history fits within a few seconds, an individual life lasting barely an instant. All a culmination of 3.8 billion years of life. This
So,
ASAP Science
A
video
minute and 43 seconds left in your day is when humans appear. A minute and 43 seconds. All in an instant. Yeah, you're done. All right, here's your geologic time scale answers if you want to check those. Give you a second to compare your notes.
You're saying I was used to go to bed at 11.
There you go. 11:59, 11:58 and 17 seconds.
But then just take it left.
Yeah.
That's like.
That's all it was left when we popped. So we're very new, right? All right. Patterns and processes of evolution. The rate of speciation in a clade is equal to or greater than the rate of extinction, then the clade will continue to exist. If the rate of extinction in a clade is greater than the rate of speciation, the clade will eventually become extinct. Evidence shows that evolution has often proceeded at different times for different organisms at different times over the long history of Earth. Two important patterns of macroevolution are adaptive radiation and convergent evolution. If it's not in your review, it's not on your midterm. Adaptive radiation occurs when a single species or a small group of species evolves over a relatively short time into several different forms that live in different ways. Convergent evolution occurs when unrelated organisms evolve into similar forms. The relationship between two co-evolving organisms often becomes so specific that neither organism can survive without the other. Thus, an evolutionary change in one organism is usually followed by a change in the other organism. So you can see, for example, fish and dolphins, right? These are two completely different organisms that have evolved very similar structures and very similar behaviors, right? And the dolphins need the fish to survive. So for this one, large-scale evolutionary changes that take place over long periods of time are referred to as speciation. Everybody? Answer? True. Macroevolutionary patterns. That's what they're referred to as. Many species disappear rapidly during background extinction, during mass extinction. The rate of speciation in a clade must be equal to or greater than the rate of extinction in order for the clade to survive. True. Immediately after a mass extinction, biodiversity is dramatically reduced. True. All right. Earth's early history, real quick. Earth's early atmosphere contained little or no oxygen. It was principally composed of carbon dioxide, water vapor, and nitrogen, with lesser amounts of carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, and hydrogen cyanide. Ooh, that's fun. Miller and Urey's experiment suggested how mixtures of the organic compounds necessary for life could have arisen from simpler compounds on primitive Earth. The RNA world hypothesis proposes that RNA existed by itself before DNA. From this simple RNA-based system, several steps could have led to DNA-directed protein synthesis. The endosymbiotic theory proposes that a symbiotic relationship evolved over time between primitive eukaryotic cells and the prokaryotic cells within them. Remember it said one cell engulfed another in that timeline video we just watched. And the development of sexual reproduction sped up evolutionary change because sexual reproduction increases genetic variation. Obviously, that makes sense. Here's one more quick video.
Extinction.
This one's on extinction.
My energy bill dropped.
Again, saving energy is important.
By doing this.
Thanks so much. He's creepy. I don't like him. Okay.
Over 99% of the animal species
Oh.
ever lived are now extinct. And sometimes an event occurs causing changes so drastic that most species are completely wiped out within a short period of time. So here are the 5 most incredible mass extinctions ever to occur, and to look at whether the 6th might be happening right now. 440 million years ago was the Ordovician extinction. At that time, most creatures swam or crawled in shallow seas. As newly created volcanic rock was worn down by water and wind, it reacted with carbon dioxide and absorbed it. As a result, carbon dioxide levels dropped, temperatures fell, and water got locked away as ice. This caused ocean levels to drop and shallow seas to drain, and after several cycles of growing and shrinking glaciers, about 86% of species were lost forever. Then, over millions of years, the oceans slowly repopulated with fish, and the land was colonized by early plants. These plants were then eaten by the first crawling and flying insects. Then, 374 million years ago, these new plants contributed to the next mass extinction. The plants absorbed enough carbon dioxide to create another round of global cooling. They changed soil, causing nutrients to wash into the ocean, creating enormous amounts of algae which sucked up oxygen. more than half of the ocean species essentially choked to death. Although somewhere in the world, a small family of fish with foot-like fins and lungs managed to scrape by. Over the next 100 million years, these creatures would evolve into amphibians, reptiles, and nearly all modern land animals. 250 million years ago is the Permian extinction, the single worst mass extinction in history. 70% of life on land and over 95% of life in the oceans was wiped out. Billions of tons of volcanic gases destroyed the ozone layer, and the average ocean temperature hit 40 degrees Celsius, which is hotter than most hot tubs. Acid rain fell all over the planet, devastating life on land. Life had only 50 million years to recover until the fourth mass extinction came. At this time, early small dinosaurs roamed the land. A huge volcanic rift opened in the middle of the planet, eventually splitting the Americas from Europe and Africa and forming the Atlantic Ocean. The volcano spewed out carbon dioxide, increasing temperatures and killing about 80% of the species around at that time. Yet in this newly emptied world, dinosaurs did extremely well, and during the next 135 million years, they grew to become some of the largest land animals the world has ever seen. But all good things must come to an end. Many scientists believe that the extinction of dinosaurs was caused by an asteroid the size of a small town crashing into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact shot millions of tons of dust into the atmosphere, blocking out sunlight and spelling an end to all large dinosaurs. The small ones that survived evolved into birds. The world was now primed for a small, scuffling rat-like creature, the ancestor of all modern mammals. Within 50 million years, its descendants, from wildebeests and whales to horses and us humans, have diversified and grown to dominate nearly every available environment on Earth. So where does that leave us now, 65 million years later? Well, human dominance of Earth has led to big changes too, except the changes of today are happening over decades, not millennia. Carbon dioxide levels implicated in so many of the past extinctions have climbed at least 25% in just the last 50 years, almost no time in geological terms. In addition to climate change, we've exterminated hundreds of species by hunting, fishing, habitat destruction, and pollution. It's been estimated that the current species extinction rates are between 100 and 1,000 times higher than the natural background rate, and that if all the species that are currently threatened by declining populations actually do go extinct, we may reach the level of a true mass extinction in just a few hundred years. And while all the mass extinctions of the past have had some survivors, it's worth remembering that the creatures at the top of the food chain are usually hit the hardest. We may just be setting the stage for history to repeat itself and for some small, unexpected organism to replace us as the planet's dominant form of life. Curious about the coolest animals that existed during these mass extinctions?
Woo, very. So that big asteroid they're talking about? Yeah, I was gonna say Gulf of choose your North American country. You have 30%, 33% chance of being correct, basically. You know, Mexico, America. That Gulf place right there. That's why that's there. Like that's where that came from. Gulf came from that big asteroid the size of a small town, as they said. All right, so what are protenoid microspheres? They're tiny bubbles formed from large organic molecules that have some characteristics of living things. Why do scientists think RNA may have evolved before DNA? Anybody know? Eunice?
Because it is single stranded.
There you go. Yeah, experiments show that small sequences of RNA could have formed and replicated on their own in conditions present on Earth. And then, it is single stranded, so it's obviously a little more simpler. And then here, what you're looking for is photosynthetic bacteria moving into eukaryotic cells with chloroplasts. All right. This is your Unit 5 test. When is it due? Monday, 8 a.m. What else is due Monday at 8 a.m.? Any work you haven't turned in that you haven't already received a 0 for, Monday, 8 a.m. If it's not here by Monday, 8 a.m., goose egg, right? Unless we have some deal worked out where you're like, I'm having this assignment excused for whatever reason, then that's fine. But if you're supposed to turn it in, turn it in. Yep.
Is that a brownie point for genetic drift twice?
Oh, no, I just read it twice. Didn't realize it was there. So yes, this is due Monday. So study, take this. All right, now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to divide into lab teams for Team Jeopardy. So find a way to get with your lab team.
Simple.
Hmm. All right, team number 1 is going to be located where? Kitchen. Who's going to the kitchen? What lab team is in the kitchen? Fibers. Okay. Team, where's my second lab team? Oh, you guys in the back. What is that lab team? Okay. Whoop, that is weird. All right. And then if I've got this room divided, is that what's going on here? You guys are which team? You're ducks. And this is Dynamo over here. Do you want to chair, Grace? You sure? Okay. All right. So y'all know how Jeopardy works, right? All right. There's no final Jeopardy otherwise. So we will give you the question. If you get the question, let me see. Does there get the question wrong situation? I'm trying to remember the rules myself. Yeah, you lose the points if you get it wrong. Yes. Well, because the answer's already shown at that point, though. So, all right. So we're gonna go 5 fibers, lab team, ducks, and dynamo in that order. One person needs to be the answerer for the team. So probably your captain is the best. So Caitlin, you're going to be the answerer. Who's answering for lab team? Who's your spokesperson? Asher. Okay. For ducks, who's answering? Kenna and Yusuf is answering. You can, what?
So like the number of questions is not divisible by 4. So like the first team has like a
I don't even worry about it. Which is it's not like it matters, right? It's not like your grade is impacted. But look at this, he's thinking ahead. All right, so we're just gonna go around and around and around. All right. Do what? Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me see what's up with that. I think it's Alexa. Turn on Media Center. I think she just went stupid on me for a minute. Hold on. Oh, come on. Oh no. Hold on. Alexa, turn on the Media Center. You have to do that, otherwise it don't work. Oh, she's being really dumb. Okay, hold on. Alexa, turn off Apple TV. Still everything. Still everything. All right. Alexa, turn on Apple TV. Everything in this house. Isn't it? Isn't it? Don't blame Drew or me. Blame the engineer that lives here who has made everything like this. All right. Oh, it said HDMI on. Alexa, turn on the Media Center. Just takes her a minute. She will settle in, I promise. Maybe. Why do you mean no signal? Is it up? All right, I'm gonna move this over here for right now so it doesn't wiggle that HDMI thing. That might be part of the problem. Oh, no, that's Apple TV. Alexa, turn the Media Center on. Here we go. This is promising. Promising. Come on. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?
It does not work.
Huh. Hold on here. Yes, it's plugged in. It's just doing its let me try this other option. Hang on. Sorry. Settings. Display, duplicate. Let's try that. Display. Duplicate. Hold on. Oh, come on. All right. All right, backup method worked. All right, backup method. All right, so we're starting over here. Where are we going? Evolution for 700. A random change in a population's frequency, allele frequency is called this.
What is genetic drift?
What is genetic drift? Oh, come on.
You have this.
What is genetic drift? And you get the credits for that. Very good. Okay, lab team. Where are we going?
How to science for 700.
How to science for 700. The process by which organisms keep their internal conditions relatively stable is called this.
What is homeostasis?
What is homeostasis is correct. Okay. Where are we? Ducks.
Genetics.
Genetics for 700. Stem cells demonstrate this characteristic, the ability to differentiate into different types of cells. Totipotency, she says, and she is correct. Oh yeah, what is? I forgot to say that rule. You have to say what is. I didn't tell everybody that. What is or who is. All right. Okay, very good. All right. And y'all, Dynamo.
Ecology 700.
Ecology 700. The first organisms to repopulate a deforested area are known as what is pioneer species is very good. You get your credit for that. Back around.
The cell 700.
The cell 700. An enzyme speeds up a reaction by doing this.
Activation.
Lowering the activation energy is correct. Very good. All right, lab team.
Evolution 600.
Evolution for 600. In natural selection, the selector is nature, but in selective breeding, the selector is this.
What is humanity?
Yeah. Great answer. You know humanity, man. All right, very good. Ducks.
How to science for 600.
How to science for 600. This tells what happens a fact. This tells why it happens an explanation. Forget your what if. What is?
What is scientific law and what is scientific theory?
Okay, very good. What is scientific law and a scientific theory? Very good. Over here.
Something 600.
What?
I'll take the cell.
The cell. Okay. Living organisms are organized in this way, beginning with cell. No notes for this. We're here. You can write it. He's writing it down. Don't help them. You're doing it wrong. Cell, molecule, organ system. Yeah, that's the way. That's right. Clearly.
Cell, tissue, organ, system, organism.
Okay. Say it one more time. I'll make sure I heard you clearly.
What is
Cell, tissue,
organ, system, organism?
Organ, system. Yes, right. Okay. So you've got cell, tissue, organ, system, or you could say organ system, which is why I was waiting for your pause, and organism. Very good. You got it. All right. Where are we going?
Genetics 600.
Genetics for 600. This can cause a cell to produce the wrong proteins. What is a mutation is correct. And yes, lab team.
Ecology for 600.
Ecology for 600. Within an ecosystem, autotrophs are known as these, while these are known as consumers. Ooh.
What are heterotrophs?
Autotrophs are known as these, while these. So you need two answers. What are what and what?
What are producers? What are heterotrophs?
Very good. What are producers? So autotrophs are known as producers. And heterotrophs are known as consumers. Excellent. Ducks. Evolution for 500. He thought that the use or disuse of a structure or behavior would cause organisms to gain or lose traits over generations. Who is Lamarck, our favorite, most memed dude, right? Poor guy. Alrighty, over here, Dynamo. How to science for 500. In order for this to be considered, it must be possible to be tested and accepted or tested and rejected.
What is the hypothesis?
What must also happen? It must be what? Supported, ejected, and what? Repeatable. Right. Very good. Okay.
Ecology.
Ecology for 500. This is the maximum number of organisms of a particular species that can be supported by an environment. Very good. What is the carrying capacity? Is correct. All right. Lab team.
Genetics, 500.
Genetics for 500. This is the process of decoding the sequence of messenger RNA molecule to a sequence of amino acids, the building blocks of protein, during protein synthesis, and this process takes place in the ribosome.
What is translation?
Translation is correct. What is translation? Very good. No, so. All right, ducks. The cell for 500. This is used by cells to store energy required for cellular processes. This ATP is correct. Very good. All right, Dynamo. Ecology for 400. A natural resource that is easily and quickly replenished is known as?
What is a renewable resource?
A renewable resource. Very good. Excellent. How to science. 400. 1 milliliter is equal to this many liters. That is excellent. 1/1000th or 0.001. Good answer. Now you'll survive. Okay, lab team, what's up?
Evolution.
Evolution for 400. This provides genetic diversity because the sperm and egg that are produced contain different combinations of genes than the parent organisms. Recombination and crossing over provide even greater opportunity for variation.
What is sexual reproduction?
Very good. Sexual reproduction is right. Very good. All right, ducks.
Genetics for 400.
Genetics for 400. Autosomes are diploid while these are haploid.
What are gametes?
What are gametes is correct. Gametes or sex cells, either is appropriate. Dynamo. The cell for 400. All cells possess these two things.
What is a cell membrane
And ribosome? Oh no, it's a cell membrane and DNA or a cell membrane and genetic material. I will accept either of those. All right. Next up. What's up?
How to science for 300.
How to science for 300. Using your senses to gather information is called this. Observation is correct. Okay. Lab team.
Ecology for 300.
Ecology for 300. A group of different species that live together in a defined area is called this.
What is a community?
Very good. Notice different species. Community. Same species is what? Population. Read that carefully, right? All right, you guys, ducks. Genetics for 300. An organism with a heterozygous genotype will express the dominant form of this.
What is a phenotype?
Phenotype. Yeah, very good. Perfect answer. Excellent. And Dynamo. Evolution for 300. Change in a species over a long period of time is called this.
What is?
Evolution. You got it. Very good. All right, over here. The cell, 300. A prokaryotic cell lacks this.
What is
Yes.
brain power?
A membrane-bound nucleus. Perfect. Very good. Yep. Excellent. Full credit would be membrane-bound nucleus if it's not multiple choice, which it might be. All right, lab team.
How to science for 200.
How to science for 200. In an experiment, this is what you keep the same.
What is the controlled variable?
Controlled variable is what you keep the same. Very good. Ducks.
Evolution for 200.
Evolution for 200. A whale's pelvis is an example of this.
What is a vestigial structure?
Very good. A vestigial structure. He doesn't have legs. What'd you say? Don't know anything about whales. All right, y'all. Genetics, 200. Typically, males possess these sex chromosomes while females possess these. XY, XX. Correct. Very good. All right.
Ecology 200.
Ecology 200. Weather describes day-to-day atmospheric conditions, while this describes the weather over a long period of time. Climate is correct. Climate is what you expect. Weather is what? What you get. All right, lab team.
The cell, 200.
Cell for 200. Active transport across a membrane requires what?
What is an?
Energy is correct. Ducks.
How to science?
How to science for 100. This is the approach to seeking knowledge that involves forming and testing a hypothesis in a logical, systematic way. What is scientific method is correct. All right, and ecology 100. All life on Earth exists in this. The biosphere is correct. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards one more time since they had the advantage of going forward. So you get this. What's this one?
The cellars.
Cell 100. This is the chemically opposite or reverse process of cellular respiration.
What is?
Photosynthesis is correct. Ducks. Evolution for 100. This is a trait that helps an organism survive and reproduce.
What is an
Adaptation is correct. Very good. And lab team, you get the last one, which is these are different forms of a gene.
What are alleles?
Very good. You got it. All right. Excellent. Now we're going to go to. Oh, yeah, I added it there. All right. There you go. So they got behind because they were last all the way around. All right. So now the question is, do we want, I'm going to let you decide, do we want to go back to sink or swim and pick it up from the middle so we can redo those? Or do we want to go to the answer reveal review packet slides? So I'll let you think about it for a second and then we'll vote. All right, so who votes for sink or swim?
It's like a team.
One, they can vote as individuals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yeah, that wins. All right, so we're going back to sink or swim. We're gonna stay in lab teams. Actually, no, we have to divide into 2, so it works much better. Well, actually, we can try this with 4 teams. We've never done it with 4 teams, have we? Do you want to try it with 4 or do we want to go back to 2? 2? Actually, let's let you guys together and you guys go back to that table there so that you're with them, okay? Right? All right, now let's see.
Ain't no way we don't, that's right. That, right?
And that. Share. We're going to, why is it not open yet? Come on and open.
Why did this spell like that? I can't spell.
Hold up. Here we go. All right. So we're gonna there.
Yeah, I can.
All right, we're gonna pick up at like question. Let's pick up at question 30.
We already.
Where's my? Oh, I know. Hold on. This is on, right? Yes. Okay. Go away. All right. So are we all up except for Ridley, who really can't be up? Okay. To stand in. That's a labubu. I've heard of these things.
Good.
He sings.
Holy.
How does he sing?
He sings and puts up.
Show me.
Kill it.
Really? That's the stuff of nightmares. What's wrong with you?
I got it for the.
Okay, what's wrong with you?
Fashion one.
Okay. All right, we only have 9 minutes, so we'll roll through as best we can. We're going to start with the team in the back. So you're going to be 1, 2. All right, who is first? I can't tell.
We're gonna go back.
Okay, decide what order you're in. I can tell over here. I can't tell back there. Eunice, you're first. All right, here we go. Which is an example of a vestigial structure in humans? Appendix is correct. And what would you like to do?
Like to sing.
Maybe it's like you heard it. We'll call it
Yeah, where you sitting?
that. He's been.
Oh, that's not good. What'd you do to it?
What is it?
All right. Vestigial structure is something you no longer need, but is left over from your evolutionary past. All right, Tyler. What's the best definition for scientific method?
C.
C is correct. And what would you like to do?
Thank you.
Bye, Eunice. Down you go. All right, Asher, you're next. The building blocks of proteins are?
B.
Amino acids is correct, and you'd like to?
Hey, Colin.
Down you go. Oh, Kenna's down. All right. Okay, Ridley. Which shows the correct order for the organization of life?
C.
C is correct, and you'd like to do what?
Think Asher.
Raise hand.
All right, Kenna's up. All right,
Yeah.
Jordan. Who's next? Jordan? What best describes DNA in a typical prokaryotic cell? Looks like you've got agreement.
DNA is not cytoplasm.
Prokaryotic cell.
Come on, say it already.
What are you going with?
Safety.
Okay, I'm gonna go with B.
You're correct. In a prokaryotic cell, that is correct. All right, and you're doing what? Drew and Ridley are not sunk. They're just sitting.
What?
All right, down Yusuf.
Okay.
All right, Drew, is this you?
Yeah.
Okay, what is a trait that helps an organism survive and reproduce? Adaptation is correct, and you'd like to do what? Isabella's next. If that helps you.
Isabella, sorry.
Yep, down you go, girl. All right. Question 40. Then that's Lucas, what did Lamarck believe? Some people can't speak. See, very good. And what would you like to do? Sink Xander. Goodbye. On your team? Think Kenna. All right. Colin. Darwin's idea of how evolution occurs is called natural selection. And what would you like to do?
Give me up.
These?
Kenna's up. All right. Now I'm going to skip ahead some. I'm going to skip to 45, I think. No, yeah, 45. All right. Who is next? Xander. Cladogram links groups of organisms by showing how evolutionary lines or lineages are branched from common ancestors.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, definitely true.
You can't talk it. It's not your team. Yes, they're trying to mess with you, friend. Yeah. Okay. What would you like to do?
Oh.
All right, Colin. All right. So who's this now? We're back to Tyler. All right, Tyler. Derived character is a trait that arose from the most ancient common ancestor of a particular lineage that was passed along to its descendants. That's false. It's not the most ancient. It's the most recent. Very good. And you'd like to do what? Raise Yusuf. All right. Very good. Who is next? Barrett. The relationship between organisms that strive for the same resources in the same place. Competition is correct. You'd like to do what? All right. There we go. All right. So Kenna. Oh, Ridley. Can't even see you. Ridley. Question 48. The relationship in which one species benefits while the other species is not affected. You can't help her. Are you sunk? Oh, you're not sunk. You're just sitting. Nonverbal. What's your answer, Ridley?
B.
B is correct. And you'd like to do what? Raise Grace. All right. Who's up? Caitlin? Relationship in which one species benefits while the other is harmed. D, parasitism. You'd like to do what?
Raise Eunice.
Raise Eunice. Very good. All right. Is this Drew?
Yeah.
Relationship in which both species benefit. Mutualism is correct. You'd like to do what?
Make you squat.
No, he's just sitting because his knee is sore.
These two.
We're gonna get Asher to sit down.
Asher to sit down.
Yeah.
The two on the couch are just gimpy. They're not sunk. They're just gimpy. All right, 51. I have no idea who's up. Who's up? Is it Grace? No, we're over here. It's Eunice. We've cycled back around. A relationship where one organism kills and eats another. Predation is correct. You'd like to? Asher's up. All right, Kenna. Correctly order the taxonomic rankings. B is correct. And you'd like to do what?
I think Asher.
Raise Colin. Very good. All right. Who's up? Asher? This biome is often very hot and has little rainfall.
D, desert. This D.
You are correct. And you'd like to do what?
Like the sink Drew.
All right. Drew is down. Who's up? Colin? This biome is hot with rainfall only in the rainy season. Savannah's right. You'd like to do what? Raise Drew. Okay, last two questions. Jordan, this biome has changing seasons and year-round precipitation.
Insidious.
Yes, and you'd like to do what?
Yes, Colin.
St. Colin. All right, so now Grace. This biome exists in a colder climate with fair precipitation year round. Boreal forest, and you'd like to do what? For the win or not win? Raise Colin. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3. 1 sunk over there. 2 sunk over here. Were you sunk? You're not sunk. 1 sunk over here. All right, so we're pretty much tied. All right, listen. Get your grade book. If you have a missing something, turn it in, right? Study for your test. Get your test out of your Unit 5 test out of the way. Don't wait till Monday at 8 a.m. Get it out of the way so you have time to work for your midterm. Monday, listen, hang on. Tuesday, guys, I don't want to yell. Shh, still, freeze. You're noisy. Tuesday, what time do you arrive?
8. No, I
Don't show up here at 8 a.m. You're gonna see me in my jammies. 10. Arrive around 10. We are starting midterms by 10:15. What else do you have to do? You have to make food, right? Read your assignment. You have to bring something to eat. Show up with something to eat. Show up ready to take your midterm. Yes.
What time is the Spanish?
I think Jackie's doing hers at 9. She said they should take no more than an hour. Ours are starting at 10. They should take roughly an hour. If you know your answers, you will go through it very fast. If you know your answers, you'll be done in 30 minutes. If you have to think about stuff for a while, right? Okay, y'all. Next week, see you. Study. Remember, midterms and finals are with 15% of your grade. Act like it. You're good to go.